What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Mets Centrals. This is Mets fan reaction game 128, where the New York Mets defeat the San Diego Padres by a score of 8-3. Before we get into the game recap, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate you guys supporting the channel, and we want to keep feeding you guys content throughout the rest of the regular season. Also, make sure to turn on post notifications to let you know anytime we upload a video or go live on the channel. But yeah, let's get into the actual post game recap. Strong win for the Mets tonight. Look, you start a 10-game road trip. Obviously, you go out to San Diego first. You have a 4-game road trip, a team you're trying to chase down for a playoff spot, and you want to get off on the right foot for the series, and that's what the Mets did. They won 8-3. Offense had a very strong game. Obviously, broke out in the ninth inning. Had some strong pitching performances today, apart from Huascar Brazaban, who struggled in the ninth inning. But look, on another big positive for the Mets winning this game is now they have the tiebreaker over the San Diego Padres, because if you guys recall, back in June, the Mets played a 3-game set with the San Diego Padres back at Citi Field, and they swept them 3 games to none. So now the Mets take this game. Now they have a 4-0 lead, and with only 3 more games left to go, the Mets officially will have the tiebreaker against the San Diego Padres. So hypothetically, if the final wild card spot, or even if we're doing it by seeding, if the Mets and Padres are tied, the Mets will go over the Padres because they have the tiebreaker. So huge win there. But yeah, just to go back to some of the hitting performances, I mean, big game from Francisco Lindor today, 2 for 4. Mark Vientos also had a very big game, 2 for 5, drove in 3 runs. Let's see who else. Pete Alonso had a very solid game, going 3 for 5. Jesse Winker continuing off his walk-off home run yesterday, went 2 for 5 today, drove in a run. Uh, Jeff McNeil also as well went 3 for 4, drove in 1 run, so he's continuous hot start in the second half of the year. But yeah, pretty much everyone in the lineup today who started for the Mets got a base hit, apart from Francisco Alvarez. 4 strikeouts, it's not great. 0 for 5, also not great either. But I mean, he did kind of get unlucky in the fourth inning where he hit a hard line drive over to Jake Cronenworth, and it was right at him, and Cronenworth caught it to get an out. So unlucky from him, but you really want to see him cut down on the strikeouts, because 4 Ks, the golden sombrero, that is pretty ugly to say the least. But yeah, I thought Luis Severino was decent. He had a very good first 4 innings to start the game. His main pitches that were really working well: fastball, slider, sweeper, getting a lot of swings and misses on that, getting a lot of light contact on those. The fifth inning, though, is where he really got into a lot of trouble. And you see the big thing with Luis Severino's game today. If you look at his final stat line: 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 4 walks. That's you want to see him cut down the walks, because it's the one thing that the Mets pitching staff as of recently has done pretty well, is length and cutting down on walks. Luis Severino, while you like to see him go 6, 7 innings, like 5 in this situation, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great either, but yeah, like I said before, the fifth inning really killed him because he had the bases loaded, and I'm pretty sure he walked 3 guys in that fifth inning. So wasn't great, but also struck out 5 guys. So like I said before, wasn't a great start, wasn't a terrible start. It was an all right start, but you do want to see a little bit better from Luis Severino. But I mean, the fact that he just came off an outing where he won a complete game, got the shutout, you could say, okay, listen, you faced a good Padres team. You really didn't get destroyed. You only gave up the 1 run, but you want to see a little bit farther in terms of the inning wise. But yeah, I mean, listen, that was pretty much it. Like I mentioned before, it's a 10-game road trip, 4 games set in San Diego. You want to get the win, and you get off on the right start with the road trip. Listen, I think I don't know if I mentioned it in the post game last night that I did, but for the upcoming road trip, the 4 games in San Diego, the 3 games in Arizona, and the 3 games against the White Sox, ideally I want to see the Mets go 7-3. They got the win, and I originally said split against the Padres, but now they got the first win. I'm like, try to get the series win. Listen, I'll still take a series split against the Padres, but 7-3 is what I want on this road trip. And so far, 8 runs, 17 hits. It's what you want to see. And they had a pretty good game against Dylan Cease too. But anyway, guys, let's get into the actual post game recap. So on the mound for the Mets, Luis Severino, and on the mound for the San Diego Padres, Dylan Cease. Top of the first, Francisco Lindor leading off. He would hit a double into right field. Then Mark Vientos would quickly follow as he would also hit a double down the left field line to bring in Francisco Lindor. So the Mets would take an early 1-0 lead. By the way, on Mark Vientos, ever since moving on to the two hole, they showed it on the SNY broadcast today, but over an 1,000 OPS, over a 300 batting average, he's been killing it so far in the two hole for the Mets. So Mark, keep doing what you're doing, buddy, because you are playing very well right now. Then an unlucky hit right here as Brandon Nimmo comes up. He hits a hard line drive to Alexander Bogarts. He would catch it. Vientos wouldn't have enough time to make it back to the bag, so he would be picked off at second base. So an unlucky double play there for the Mets. Pete Alonso would then hit a single, but Jesse Winker would ground out to end the inning. Then bottom of the first, quick 1-3 inning for Luis Severino as he'd get Luis Ariz to ground out to Pete Alonso at first. Jerks and Profile would then strike out on a foul tip, and Jake Cronenworth would ground out to Jose Iglesias at second base. Top of the second, Jose Iglesias would pop out to Jake Cronenworth at first. Francisco Alvarez would strike out. Jeff McNeil would ground out softly to Luis Campusano to end the inning. Then bottom of the second, Machado would strike out swinging. Alexander Bogarts would walk. Jackson Merrill would strike out. So 2 outs there. David Peralta would then hit a single. So first and second for Peralta would go to first, and Alexander Bogarts would move over to third base. Then Peralta would steal second, move over to second base. So second and third with 2 outs. Thankfully, Sevy good out of the inning as he would get Luis Campusano to fly out to Brandon Nimmo on left. Then top of the third, Tyrone Taylor would hit a double. Mets couldn't drive him in, though, as Francisco Lindor fly out to Jerickson Profar. Vientos would strike out swinging, and Brandon Nimmo would fly out to Jackson Merrill in center field to end the inning. Then bottom of the third, Mason McCoy would strike out. Mason McCoy would strike out. Luis Ariz would hit a single. Jerickson Profar would then single. So first and second with 1 out for the Padres. Luis Severino, though, would bulk down as he would get out of the inning as he would strike out Jake Cronenworth, and he'd get Machado to ground out to Jose Iglesias at second base. Top of the fourth, Pete Alonso would fly out to David Peralta on right. Jesse Winker would hit a single. Jose Iglesias would then hit a ground rule double. So second and third for the Mets. Then Luis Campusano would allow a pass ball. So Jesse Winker would come in to score. Jose Iglesias would move over to third base. 2-0 Mets. Francisco Alvarez would then line out, like I mentioned before, the unlucky line out. Then Jeff McNeil, who's continuing his hot stretch of play, he hits a single, beats out the throw to make it 3-0 Mets. Then Tyrone Taylor would strike out to end the inning. Bottom of the fourth, a quick 1-2-3 inning. I'm sorry, it wasn't a 1-2-3 inning, but a quick inning for Luis Severino would only be 8 pitches as he would get Alexander Bogarts to ground out. Jackson Merrill would ground out. David Peralta would hit a single, but Luis Campusano would pop out to Francisco Lindor at short. Top of the fifth, Francisco Lindor would ground out. Mark Vientos would strike out, and then Brandon Nimmo would single, and Pete Alonso would strike out to end the inning. Bottom of the fifth, this is where we would see Luis Severino get into some trouble. Mason McCoy comes up, and Luis Severino walks him. You never want to see a starting pitcher walk the nine hitter. Sorry, that usually leads to bad things because then we would see Luis Ariz hit a single first and second for the Padres, and then Jerickson Profar would walk. So it sets up bases loaded with no out. Thankfully, a huge play by Jose Iglesias. Jake Cronenworth hits a ground ball hard to Jose Iglesias. He makes a really nice play with his glove to get a double play. Mason McCoy will come in to score. So Mets now lead the Padres 3-1. Manny Machado would then walk. He would steal second base. Sevy, though, would get out of the inning as he would get Alexander Bogarts to ground out to Mark Vientos at third. Then top of the sixth, Jesse Winker would ground out to Alexander Bogarts. Jose Iglesias would ground out to Mason McCoy. And Francisco Alvarez would strike out swinging to end the inning. Bottom of the sixth, Danny Young will come in to replace Luis Severino. And a very good inning for Danny Young as he would get Jackson Merrill to strike out swinging. David Peralta would be called out on strikes, and Luis Campusano would ground out to Francisco Lindor at short. Top of the seventh, Jeff McNeil would hit a single. Tyrone Taylor would be called out on strikes. Francisco Lindor would walk. So first and second for the Mets. Pitching change there as Brian Hoig would come in to replace Dylan Cease. He would get Vientos to line out, and then Brandon Nimmo would strike out the inning. So Mets could not bring in any runs there. Then bottom of the seventh, Reed Garrett will come in to replace Danny Young. He would walk Mason McCoy. same problem like Luis Severino. Walk the 9 hitter. You don't want to see that, but thankfully he makes a big pitch and gets Luis Ariz to ground to a double play, so 2 outs, and then he would get Jurickson Profar to ground out to Francisco Lindor to end the inning. Top of the 8th, Pete Alonso would hit a single. Jesse Winker would line out sharply. Jose Iglesias would strike out, and then Francisco Alvarez would strike out as well. Then bottom of the 8th, Phil Maton would come in to replace Reed Garrett. He would get Drake Cronenworth to fly out to center field after a long at bat, a long 11 pitch at bat, but thankfully Maton was able to get the out. Then Manny Machado would ground out to Mark Vientos, and Alexander Bogaerts would ground out to Jose Iglesias to end the inning. Top of the 9th, Logan Gillespie would come in to replace Brian Hoeing as Jeff McNeil would hit a single. Tyrone Taylor would then hit a single. Francisco Lindor would then single. So bases loaded with no outs for the Mets. Then Mark Vientos comes through big. He hits a single to bring in Jeff McNeil and Tyrone Taylor. So he puts the Mets up 5-1. Then Brandon Nimmo will ground into a double play. Pete Alonso would then hit a single. So Francisco Lindor will come in to score. Then Jesse Winker would hit a double. Pete Alonso comes in to score to put the Mets up 7-1. Jose Iglesias would then beat out a ground ball to make it 8-1 Mets, and Francisco Alvarez would be called out on strikes to end the inning. Then moving on to the bottom of the 9th, Harrison Bader would come into the game, and then Huascar Brazaban will come in to replace Phil Maton. He will get Jackson Merrill to fly out. David Peralta would then walk. A pass ball by Alvarez allows Peralta to move up to second base. Luis Camposano would then walk. Mason McCoy would then hit a single to make it 8-2 Mets. Luis Ariz would then pop out. Jurickson Profar would then single to make it 8-3 Mets. And then Jake Cronenworth would ground out to Pete Alonso at first to end the inning. So, yeah, Huascar Brazaban he has just been terrible since joining the Mets. He's had a couple starts here and there where he's looked decent, but for the most part, like, he hasn't been good. And right now, with Dednell Nunez looking like he's coming back in the series, he flew out to San Diego with the Mets. Wasn't activated today, but should be activated either tomorrow or for Saturday's game. But listen, right now, Brazaban is making a strong case, and that he should be the one that's, gets sent down or gets DFA. Well, he'll probably get sent down because considering that he has three minor league options, so he would probably get sent down if he would lose his bullpen spot. But I'm telling you right now, between him and Adam Ottavino, they're competing to lose their bullpen spot, because right now both of them have not been great, and Dednell Nunez is licking his lips, and even a guy like Sean Reed Foley could even come back soon and take both of their spots at that point. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but Brazaban has got to be a lot better because he's just simply not cutting it. But anyway, guys, that was the post game recap. Mets now move to 67 and 61. They're still in a game and a half back of the Atlanta Braves for the last wildcard spot. Obviously, the Phillies can do the Mets a favor today as the Braves beat them 3-2 in Atlanta. But listen, the Mets just got to keep winning games. And obviously, you get the big win in San Diego right here. You go and try to win tomorrow's game. Let's see who's on the mound tomorrow for the Mets. Bear with me. So Paul Blackburn tomorrow is starting for the Mets against Joe Musgrove. 9:40 game tomorrow. So let's see if the Mets can take the first 2 games of this series and just take a stronghold, and then we'll see even potentially win the series, because Mets just got to continue to win games at this point. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the post game recap. Like I said before, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe. Also turn on post notifications, and we'll see you guys for tomorrow's post game recap. Peace out, baby. Let's go Mets.